Coming out of the 2012 high school recruiting class, there was a four-star quarterback who had all the hype, all the traction around his name. I'm not talking small buzz either. I mean legit expectations. He was supposed to take over immediately as a freshman and be a superstar for Dabo at Clemson. People were already penciling him in as a savior and future before he even got to step on campus. And just to be frank, he didn't just believe in it, he loved it. All he heard while growing up too was, "You're that guy, you're next up, you're different." While that may build confidence for some, that confidence absolutely overflowed, which turned him into an absolute ego maniac. He wasn't just cocky or had an attitude problem, people were calling him flat out psycho. This dude has shades of Johnny Manziel and everything that came with that. And to be quite honest, he makes Johnny Manziel almost look like a saint. Now imagine all that type of energy, but even harder to control. Now, this is where Chad Kelly comes into the picture. Insane arm talent, playmaking ability, just like Johnny Manziel. The problem with him, and just like Johnny Manziel, was the problem came from off the field issues, but his were even worse. Most fans from Clemson at this point probably don't even remember him. This is definitely not because he wasn't talented enough, but because he fizzled out of there in the first year he was there. In his first spring game at Clemson, he got into it with the coaching staff. And I'm not just talking bickering back and forth. I mean, he was actually screaming and yelling at the coach. The coach wasn't yelling at him. He was yelling at the coach. This was his first big indication that he probably wasn't going to be there for too long. But that was just the beginning of this guy's career. This is a guy who beat Alabama at their peak with Nick Saban, not Kalen DeBoer, Nick Saban. The next day, he ends up in headlines for all kinds of off-the-field stuff, not even about the on-field things either. In 2018, he gets arrested for criminal trespassing after somehow ending up in some random dude's house after a Halloween party. That's not the end of it though either. A few years later, he gets suspended by the CFL. It doesn't matter where this dude's at, he's going to find himself in trouble somehow. But the crazy thing is, this dude keeps getting chances over and over and over again. Teams don't keep giving you opportunities unless you can really play. One thing is, he was a baller. Coming out of that 2012 recruiting class, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the entire nation. He was rated a 4-star. Some sites had him up to even a 5-star. He had mobility, poise, he had the arm strength, he could extend pockets, make plays off script, you name it. Chad Kelly had that. Him being bad at football was never an issue. This isn't a story about why he just fizzled out because he wasn't good enough. It's why he kept getting things wrong. Another example of this is he went to his little brother's high school football game and he got into a fight at the high school. Things like this is just a story of Chad Kelly's life. So the question is simple. What actually happened to Chad Kelly and what went wrong? Taking it all the way back to his high school days, Chad Kelly has always had expectations. He is the nephew to Jim Kelly. If you don't know who Jim Kelly is, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. So the name is going to carry weight. People are going to expect him to be talented. In high school, he attended St. Joseph's, New York, and he didn't just live up to those expectations, he blew them out of the water. In his senior year of high school football, he threw for over 3,000 yards, 27 touchdowns. He had another 1,000 yards on the ground with 14 more touchdowns. This dude was electric. He could do pretty much anything that you want out of a quarterback. He could run, he could pass, he could do it all. After his senior year was over, he was one of the highest ranked quarterbacks in all of the nation. He had all the offers from all the big schools. He could go pretty much wherever he wanted to, but he ultimately ended up picking Clemson. At that time, it was a huge get for them. Now, if you couldn't guess it already, as soon as he even stepped onto Clemson, problems have already started to arise. As soon as he got into the program, he was already talking publicly in interviews how he was going to take the quarterback's job once he got there. It's one thing to say, yeah, I feel like I'm going to be the starter. It's a whole another thing when you're telling your teammates that you're going to take their spot and they're not as good as you. This didn't just rub his quarterback teammates the wrong way. It rubbed the team the wrong way. It rubbed fans the wrong way. Clearly, his ego is already through the roof and he has zero to show for it in college. Everything he did was just in high school. By the time this season rolls around, he's not named the starting quarterback. He redshirts his first year, and in his sophomore year, he just really didn't see the field much, pretty much only in garbage time. Now, fast forwarding all the way to 2014 spring game, he's battling for a starting quarterback job. Clearly, it's just hasn't been going so well. He gets frustrated, and at halftime, he starts going off and screaming at the coaching staff. He was so loud that it actually became a massive thing for them. They benched him to calm him down in the second half. Most people, when things aren't going their way, they're going to try to cool off, earn their way back. That's not Chad Kelly, if you couldn't tell by now. He was not just going to shut his mouth, try to earn his way back, keep competing. He was going to keep arguing over and over again on the sidelines. That pretty much was his time at Clemson. After that, Dabo was not going to go for that. Chad Kelly was kicked off the team. You would think after you've just been kicked off the team, everyone thinks you're in the wrong. You would go apologize, take it back, ask for forgiveness, maybe even try to get back onto the team from apologizing. But that's just not Chad Kelly. He stood on it. He stood on business. He meant every word he said, and he made that pretty clear. So now Chad Kelly doesn't have a home. He thinks other schools are just going to pick him up from his talent. That just quite wasn't the case. He had absolutely nowhere to play, so he ended up committing to East Mississippi Community College, short for EMCC. It was a last chance U school. To his credit, he absolutely lit it up at EMCC. He was focused, locked in that season. He threw for almost 4,000 passing yards, 47 touchdowns, and led them to an undefeated season, JUCO national title. Just like that, Chad Kelly was back on the radar as one of the best quarterbacks. After that year was over with EMCC, he goes on to commit to the Ole Miss Rebels. And at Ole Miss, this is where it kind of all clicks for him. He wins the starting job pretty much right away, and he starts putting up insane numbers. This is that version of Chad Kelly where he puts up one of the best Ole Miss seasons ever, even still to this day. The biggest moments in this, he beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. That's Nick Saban. He threw for over 300 passing yards, multiple touchdowns, and a huge upset. In that 2015 season, he became the first quarterback in Ole Miss history to beat Alabama, Auburn, LSU in the same season. And mind you, this is the SEC back in the day, not today's version of the SEC. Back in the day version of the SEC. This was tough competition. Over the span of his 22 games at Ole Miss from 2015 to 16, he set 25 school records, finished with over 6,800 passing yards, threw a touchdown in 22 straight games, and had 12 different 300-yard performances. This also helped lead them to a Sugar Bowl victory. For a stretch there, it really seemed like he had everything figured out. But the one thing about Chad Kelly is he always has distractions. In 2016, he unfortunately tears his ACL, cutting his season short. After that season, he still does go on to declare for the NFL draft, but teams are quite hesitant, not only just because he tore his ACL, but because of all the baggage he's going to bring to an NFL team when quarterbacks are supposed to be the leaders in the NFL. Not only because he just tore his ACL, but because of all the baggage he's going to bring for an NFL team. And in the NFL, quarterbacks are supposed to be leaders. Going into his NFL career and the lead up, he ends up being the last pick in the draft by the Denver Broncos. He's Mr. Irrelevant. But if you know Chad Kelly, that doesn't stop him. He flashes in training camp. He's climbing the depth chart. It looks like he actually maybe even might carve himself out a role in the NFL. Then here comes Halloween. Just like old times, Chad Kelly goes to a Halloween party. He somehow manages to end up in some random stranger's house at night. All the reports say he was sitting on the couch, just kind of slurring words, not really making any sense whatsoever. The Broncos already made it clear that he was on thin ice. He's also Mr. Irrelevant. He's a 7th-round pick. They don't really have much invested in him. So they cut him. Another opportunity for him gone. After bouncing around and stepping away for a little bit, that's not the end for him. He signs with the Toronto Argonauts in the CFL. And just like Ole Miss, as soon as he steps on the field, he is producing. In the 2023 season for the CFL, he went on to throw for over 4,000 yards, wins Most Outstanding Player of the Year, and signs a massive extension. It feels like a huge comeback. This is Chad Kelly's time. But there's another setback for him. On May 7th, 2024, the CFL suspends him for violating the league's gender-based violence policy following an independent investigation tied to a lawsuit alleging sexual harassment. We all know he doesn't have the best character, but he just keeps going on to do worse things. The CFL does go on to suspend him for 11 games. He's reinstated, though, on August 18th, 2024, after missing 2 preseason games and 9 regular season games. Unfortunately for him, he does go on to suffer a serious leg injury in 2024 Eastern Final and doesn't play at all during the 2025 season. He spends the year on the injured list while Nick Arbuckle takes over. There was some speculation about maybe him returning, but he ultimately remained out for the entire season. And God knows how at this point, he's still in the picture for them. In January 2026, there's a new head coach hire for the Argonauts. New head coach Mike Miller says he expects Chad Kelly to be the starting quarterback for the 2026 season. So even after everything, suspensions, injuries, getting cut, bouncing leagues, he's still getting another shot. And honestly, that's just kind of been the theme for Chad Kelly and his career. His talent keeps opening him up doors, giving him more and more shots. That's never been the issue with Chad Kelly. It's always been the off-the-field issues. Strictly talking football, he had what it takes and still does have what it takes. The problem is he just always finds himself in trouble. So there it is. What really happened to Chad Kelly? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think of Chad Kelly? So if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.